Welcome to Fandom Post Radio. I am Kestrel Swift. Joining me this episode for the first time in quite a while is Darius Washington.
Hello, how y'all doing?
And our very special guest, a legend of the English language anime fandom, journalism, and industry, Justin Sevakis.
Hey, nice to meet you.
You too. How's it going, guys?
No complaints.
I'm tired, but what else is new?
I would imagine so. You seem extremely busy.
It's nuts how much I managed to cram into a week, but, you know, we get it done.
Yeah, it's impressive.
Thank you, God.
So, you know, your name probably means a lot of different things to different people. You've been kind of all over, like I said, the fandom, journalism, industry, for well over 20 years at this point.
Jesus Christ.
So many different aspects. A very unique profile for anyone, I would think. So, you know, some highlights that probably a lot of people are aware of are your contributions to Anime News Network, perhaps the fact that you founded it, most significantly.
That's a thing.
That's a thing. That has, of course, been, you know, the biggest anime site for news, reviews, editorial, all that kind of stuff. The encyclopedia of just every credit for everything ever.
It is absurd that a website that started in 1998 is not only still going, but still prominent and relevant.
Yeah, like, it's been...
Like, I don't have... And that's not, like, me fluffing myself or anything. I have nothing to do with Anime News Network these days. But, like, the people that are still running it, it's like, my God, that website is, you know... I think the only prominent website I can name off the top of my head that's lasted longer is Amazon.
Yeah, well, possibly, yeah. Oh my God. I mean, I can't think of a single website that I used to go to, you know, back when we met, that's still around. Good Lord.
Especially not anime ones. I'm not sure if Right Stuff's website was even fully up yet. I mean, they were a company, but I don't think they were web-based yet.
Yeah, they had their catalog, which they still send to me. And,
actually, of course, what am I thinking? Sean Kleckner was my first sponsor. Yes, of course they were a web company.
Oh, really?
So yeah, I can't. Yeah, he was, and he paid me initially in store credit. You know, it was such a small website. I mean, the numbers wouldn't make sense to actually pay money, but it also meant that, you know, look, it was 1998. Nobody knew what they were doing on the web yet, and also I was what, 18, 19, so, you know, not exactly an MBA.
Yeah, well, it sure has lasted, and, you know, in that time, you've done many other things. Today, people mostly know you for your work as one of the driving forces behind the Discotek machine, mostly involved in post-production and disc authoring, some other stuff that we'll talk about a bit. But yeah, throughout all those years, you know, there's a lot of other things that people may be less aware of. So yeah, I'd love to hear about just kind of your whole journey over 25, however many years you've been involved in anime in whatever capacity, and what was it about anime that has kept you so passionate and dedicated throughout that whole time?
Inertia. I'm kidding. So no, the Cliff's Notes version was, I was 13 and discovered anime at Blockbuster Video. My first anime was Project A-ko, and my mother wouldn't let me rent it because of that 17 plus sticker on it. But my sister's friend had a bootleg copy from a comic convention, let us borrow it. And I just kind of fell down the rabbit hole from there. I joined an anime club at 15. A older club member and he got me an Amiga, you know, which were already very outdated at that point. But the Amiga was the machine that you used for video because it, like the sync, it would actually sync with a video signal.
Genlock.
Yep, we had it with a Genlock. I mean, you could get Genlocks for Windows, but there would be timecode drift. And so we started fan subbing, and this was, obviously deep VHS era. This was 95, 96.
Mm-hmm.
And my first show that I fan subbed, I started with just as a learner project. I used a public script for Elf Princess Rain and did the second episode because the original fan subber didn't want to finish it. My real first project was Kodocha. And what a first project, because, 600 lines of dialogue per episode, rapid fire, it's nuts. So anyway, we ran Kodocha Anime, the fan subber, for quite a number of years. And then I went off to, when I was about to go to college, I started Anime News Network because I didn't get into the college that I wanted to get into, and I knew I would be bored out of my mind. And also it was, there was a definite need for it. This was pre anything. Like, we communicated in the anime scene with Rec Arts Anime, the news group, and it was just, you couldn't tell what the hell was happening. People would make up stuff all the time. There was no clearinghouse of what was actually happening, what was licensed. It was chaos. And, if there was any official source, it'd be An America, which had a months-long lead time, the magazine published by Viz, and also was very obviously a shill for Viz product.
True.
I started Anime News Network, and at the beginning, I was hand coding it in HTML, and because it was 1998, and nobody knew what to make of me, and I just kind of took that as far as I could. A couple years later, I ended up in New York City going to film school, and I just didn't have time for it anymore, and I never figured out how to make money with it. But it wasn't long past that I ended up meeting John O'Donnell, the president of Central Park Media, on a plane, and he hired me on the spot. And I spent 3.5 years as John O'Donnell's golden boy. Not my phrase, but it was what I was called. I started bringing. Back then, Central Park Media outsourced almost all their production, and I worked to bring all of their production in-house. I started with video editing for trailers and DVD extras, and then we did subtitling, and after that I worked for a startup TV network that no longer exists and was a absolute just trash fire of a company, but I learned a lot because they let me do everything.
Okay.
From licensing to video broadcast infrastructure to movie theater construction, you name it.
Wow.
And then after, when that was circling the drain, Anime News Network hired me back, and we had a short-lived video streaming initiative where we were, we kind of launched around the same time as Crunchyroll, but because they had money and we didn't, we ended up not going anywhere near as fast, and we just kind of got left in the dust almost immediately. We just didn't have the resources. And we also experimented with early what would now be a YouTube video podcast, but we were using our own platform. And then I kind of ended up branching off and started doing Blu-ray production, and that was about 8 years ago now. And now I have produced over 600 commercial Blu-rays, mostly for Discotek these days, but I've also done stuff for several other publishers, most prominently Anime Limited out of the UK.
Okay.
Yep. Seems like the common thread here is that everywhere you go, you just end up doing everything.
I'm slowly learning to delegate. I honestly, now with my company Media OCD, I have a really great team of people helping me out, and they're incredible people, and there is no way that I could do the sort of volume that we're doing today without their help. So yeah, I'm not doing everything.
That was actually one of my later questions. Was I never hear about anyone in Media OCD except for you, so I was wondering if that was just you. But it sounds like not.
Sure you do. There's Logan, there's Mark.
Oh, okay.
they're both part of the Media OCD family. Recently, we hired David and Caleb. They're both excellent young guys that are helping me out. And then Brady is kind of his own thing. He has his own banner called Twisty Gadget. But Brady co-produces a lot of the more ambitious Blu-rays with me.
Yeah, I did not realize that Logan and Mark were part of that. Cool.
Yep, and also we get we get a couple people helping us out every once in a while, just out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like Brendan Brown, who you might know on Twitter as a distinctive name, just cut an amazing trailer for Memories for us, and I hope to do more with him.
Yeah, that trailer definitely blew me away.
Yeah, so good. Yeah, he's so freaking talented. And he's wasting away up in Canada.
I'm almost in Canada.
Okay, well then.
All right, Darius, I think you had the next question.
No, actually, I just have like different things. I'm like, I do want to talk a little bit about the journalism aspect. This is something I wanted to ask. A long time ago, you hired me for my very first anime article. The very first one I ever did. Yeah.
Going way back there.
Yeah, we're ancient. And it's still on that site. It's still on the site there. But like you gave me a couple of like pointers to like help me improve. And evolve as a critiquer. So could you like throw people out there to anybody who really wants to actually try their hand at anime journalism just for a bit? What would you tell them, like, as far as their books to read to improve their skills, or just instincts to just develop?
Honestly, I do so little journalism stuff these days that all that stuff is kind of dusty cobwebs of my memory. You'd be much better off asking someone like Lindsay from ANN. She's kind of my point person for that sort of thing these days.
Okay.
That actually kind of goes into my next question about the fact that, you're so busy with your role in the industry, and I imagine, it could cause conflicts of interest, so of course you're not involved in journalism really anymore.
No, yeah, I really can't be. I actually, one of the main reasons I had to step away from the ANN podcast, Ancast, all those years ago, is because I couldn't talk about or have an opinion on so many things.
Right. Like
I just had my hands in so many pockets. That sounds dirty. I didn't mean that to be dirty. No, but I was doing a lot of discs for Viz at the time. That meant I couldn't talk about Viz product. That was a problem, right? Especially when stuff like the Sailor Moon fiasco, which I had nothing to do with, popped up. So Zach had to dedicate a whole episode to that. I couldn't even be a part of it because, I had a giant conflict of interest.
So do you miss being involved in that and writing reviews and editorial or any of that stuff?
Honestly, no. I burned out on it, and I'm at the point in my career now where this sounds harsh, and I don't mean it to be harsh, but the last thing I care about is other people's opinions about anime.
Fair enough.
And I realize that most fans, that's their whole experience with anime is what they like, what they don't like. That's what there is to discuss. I want to get to know a person. I don't really care what they're watching and what they like and what they don't like. I just want to put out the best quality product so the people that do like it have something that's awesome. And if you don't like it, I don't care. Go buy something else.
Fair enough, yeah. Also related to some of the stuff you were talking about with the early days of ANN compared to what it is now, I have probably been going to ANN for close to 20 years, but I don't really remember what it was like back then, and certainly not how it started. So,
if you go on the Wayback Machine,
that's true. I could do
on archive.org. It looks janky as hell.
Wow.
Look, we're talking Web 1.0 here, and my still pathetic Photoshop skills, and me using some crappy shareware HTML editor to cobble it all together out of nothing. I'm proud of it for what it was, but it doesn't stand up to even the slightest bit of scrutiny from today's point of view.
Yeah, I think that's fair. How much of that site, what did you develop in the beginning that is still there today or that exists in some form?
The fact that it does news and reviews.
Okay.
That's pretty much it. Everything else is just, I mean, it's news.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, news ages like milk.
Yeah. But I mean, just in terms of like the news section, column section, review section, the encyclopedia, any of that kind of.
Well, I didn't have anything to do with the encyclopedia. That came after my initial time there. But when it comes to anime content, basically you want news, you want discussions and reviews of what you should watch and what you shouldn't watch. That's just common sense. And you want like occasional deep dives or cover stories if we're going with like old magazine parlance. So I think those sections just kind of make themselves. And once that framework was up into place, you can do pretty much anything. And that changes, and that should change with the times and with, the way all of anime works these days is so completely far removed from it was in 1998. It's like not even the same planet. So, it's not the same, and it shouldn't be the same.
Yeah, it's interesting to think about how like the identity of anime, especially in the US, has evolved so much throughout that time. And yeah, I don't really have a sense for what it was back then, but I do kind of wonder like how much ANN might have contributed to anime, like being such a brand name, like such a persisting term that people use. I don't know. I feel like there's not an equivalent for other countries' mediums in the same way as, Japanese animation has right now.
Well, I don't know that ANN can take credit for any of that, but it definitely is part of a prominent part of a larger ecosystem. One thing anime fans have always done extremely well is organize. Mm-hmm. It's almost like it's instinctive on our parts, where we just kind of create these giant sprawling resources until they take over our whole lives. Look at the anime section of Wikipedia. There were when Wikipedia started out, there were 7 shows in there.
Right.
Now it covers
in there.
Literally everything. But every aspect of anime is like that. Even I don't think they're still updated, but there were literal fan sub tracking sites that would track every different fan subber work on every different series and cross-reference them. Mm-hmm. It's insane. Who would do that? Us.
Right.
Anime Turnpike. God, we miss you.
Anime Turnpike, remember them? Yep. They were the original Yahoo for anime, and the mission aged just as well as Yahoo, frankly. but they were important back then.
Yeah,
that's how you track down your stuff. I was like, Turnpike. Oh, somebody's subbing it. Go get it.
Yep. But oh no, that wasn't Anime Turnpike I was referring to. I forget the name of it. But regardless, there are so many resources, and it's all such an interconnected web. And, also the industry has been, through fits and starts, really pushing things on the professional side. And just culturally, it's just kind of, everything has led to this point. You can't really lay the blame or credit on anything in particular.
Now you do, despite not particularly caring what people think about specific shows, you do seem to still do a very good job at just keeping up on, all the different aspects of the industry, to the point that, you're kind of a person that people still turn to for insight and commentary. And, if Crunchyroll needs someone to talk on their Anime in America podcast, or the Ghost in the Shell 4K needs someone to talk on their Video Extra, or the New York Times needs someone to talk about pay in Japan for animation work. Everyone, it all converges at Justin Sevakis. So I'm just kind of fascinated at how you manage to keep up on all of these things while you're so busy.
I like to refer to myself as the Forrest Gump of anime. Just kind of bizarrely in the right place at the right time to witness or be a part of everything important, and just almost entirely by luck. And I like to say I don't know why, but for some reason middle-aged women love me.
That is interesting.
That's a joke. It's because I'm gay.
Okay, all right, gotcha. God, I never thought about that.
That joke plays way better elsewhere. Sorry.
Okay.
So anyway, no. It is bizarre, and as I've been doing this so long, and I'm a pretty social guy. You know me. I talk to everyone. I just kind of ended up being that guy who will level with people, but figure out a way to word things that steps on not a whole lot of toes. Mm-hmm. Don't get me wrong. I have my missteps, and I definitely have a few people I've pissed off over the years.
Same.
But it's one of those things where I think just being able to keep in contact with enough people, I'm able to kind of figure out what's going on and have like kind of a unique point of view. Because most people who are in my position, industry-wise, they won't talk to fans on any level. Or if they do, they won't talk to them about work because they're in a position where if they do talk, they'll get in trouble. Mm-hmm. And being self-employed, hearing most of this stuff secondhand, and knowing enough that, and having been around long enough that I know what to defang and what to anonymize, I can kind of be in a position where I've always been that guy where I can bridge the gap between pro and fan and kind of like be each other's translator.
Well said. Now,
I value that role. It's important to me because if those two don't talk, bad things happen.
Right. Yeah, it definitely seems like, like I was mentioning earlier, a very unique role that you found yourself in. I really can't think of anyone else that's even close to being similar. I guess the other guys working with Discotek in some capacity are the closest.
Oh, like Mike?
Like Mike, yeah.
Yeah. We all love Mike. Mike's a gregarious, fun guy, and God, does he go to do a good panel?
Yes.
But he likes to stay more on the fan side of things. I think he doesn't. Okay, so here's a weird thing. Mike will go to a convention as a fan. Mike will give panels as a fan. And at some point, I crossed some threshold, probably in my late 20s, where I've never been to a convention as just a fan. I've gone as industry, but I've always had kind of this mania where if I'm going to do something, I want to make it look good and I want to make it look professional. I want to be taken seriously.
Okay.
So it's one of those things. It's just, part of my personality. So to me, what Mike does is something that I can't possibly do because he is like, I feel like he speaks fan natively. Like that's his native tongue. Whereas I'm the guy that grew up in two different countries and speaks both with a slight accent.
Can see that.
Some great metaphors on today's show.
I can definitely see that.
And Mike also speaks pro, but his accent might be a little thicker on the pro side.
So yeah, in that role, you made a pretty natural final answer man for ANN. Like it seemed obvious that, of course, you were the guy that people go to for answers. Especially as that role has evolved and information is much more accessible now, so you really need someone with that level of authority and expertise to be able to dig up the stuff that no one else can figure out.
When Zach had me take over that column, he even said, like, once you're done with this, we'll just retire the column because, where do we go from there?
Who can replace you? Yeah.
I took that as an honor.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
The end of Answer Man.
So since leaving that role, has there been any egregious misinformation or major developments that you kind of wish you could provide some commentary on beyond the scope of a Twitter thread, like the impact of Funimation acquiring Crunchyroll on our industry, on Japan's industry, anything else like that you you have this as a platform, I guess.
If I do, it's always in that moment, and I basically use a tweet storm as some sort of sounding board if I feel the need. I don't miss doing Answer Man, if that's what you're getting at. Okay. I was like, that column was exhausting, and what would often happen is I would avoid it until the last minute, and then like 11:30 p.m. the night before it was due, I would go, oh, crap, oh, God. And then I'd be up until 4 a.m, like, meticulously researching it and, writing it out, just pounding out this thing. I turned into Zach. Zach would wake up the next morning and just post it and not even look at it, and they would go up and, like, half a paragraph would be missing. But, the thing is with Answer Man, because anime fans are so educated and do so much research on their own, you're never going to be smarter than everybody on every topic. Mm-hmm. And someone will always be out there to call you out and correct you. And you just live in fear of that.
Yeah, I just, I think about some of the kind of truisms that are thrown around from, like, the anime personalities of today, like YouTubers and stuff, that I feel like don't carry the same weight of, research and authority that I was kind of used to in print form and text form, rather, and even on some podcasts.
Yeah, that drives me nuts, I'll be honest. Like, I'll give you an example. I'm a big fan of Trash Taste. Mm. I'm not sure if you know it. It's a few prominent anime YouTubers that are living in Japan and have a talk show. Mm. They do really, really well. Like, they have millions of viewers. But every once in a while, they'll just kind of go off on a tangent and say something, and I'm just like, oh, that is not how that works at all. Millions of people are watching. Right. Why?
Yeah, very large audiences to disseminate misinformation to.
Yeah, and I don't want to single them out. They actually do a better job than a lot of them. There's a lot of YouTube shout men who are just completely full of nonsense. And you just, like, I don't know what you do. How do you fight that? I don't know.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
I just gotta, I just work as hard as I can to keep people informed and such. But that's not my job anymore.
All right, Darius, I think you had the next question.
Yeah. So, like, when you are working at CPM, that was like when you got your feet wet, creating discs and everything. So I know I've kind of got the impression from some of the license rescues there are some titles that you still enjoy doing, and some that you just really would rather not see again. Are there any?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Are there any from the CPM days that you just go, I think I'm just going to to the junior team. I'm just over here working on a different title instead. That you just really just don't miss working on.
I mean, thank God Discotek doesn't do hentai. I want nothing to do with hentai. The closest we came was Kiss Sis.
Okay.
And I was really unhappy to be working on Kiss Sis, but the other guys were game, and so I'm just like, okay, have at it. I don't have to actually watch this while I author it. But that's a problem. Like, I have to make the disc.
Right.
The authoring software is $37,000. You can't just buy another copy. So, and not only that, there's an extremely steep learning curve. And while I'm fairly confident at least a couple of our guys can handle it, we don't have time for that.
Right.
So, what I would end up doing is just having them work on as much of the production as possible, and then I would just put it all together. But yeah, there's plenty of, look at Central Park Media's library. It was about, even without the hentai, there were about 20% gems, about 40% mediocrity, and the remaining 40% just absolute sewage. And if I never have to touch those shows ever again, it'll be too soon.
So about that new MD Geist,
What's funny about MD Geist is that it's become so campy that people actually kind of like it. And I never hated it. It's just, not good. But at some point, it became kind of the Vanilla Ice movie of anime. And you're just like, wow, the way this fight scene is blocked, it makes no sense. You can't even tell what's happening. Or that guy is black and it's a black background. You can't even tell where he is. This is pathetic. Oh, look, this shot, it looks like his head is flapping in the wind. It's like Garzy's Wing. There's a place in your collection for that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Actually, I still enjoy MD Geist myself. I keep writing about it. I don't know why. I don't know.
Yeah, why do you do that?
I just whine. I was like, it's like a Chuck Norris or a Stallone movie from the 80s to me. It's just like, watch and check brain at door and walk away.
Who hurt you is what I'm asking.
I was raised on Canon Films, and there's a whole documentary about them. There you go. All right.
Yes, Golan Globus, they hurt you.
Oh, yes.
They touched you bad.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
So some of the stuff that you were just talking about ties into my next question, which is about Blu-ray authoring or disc authoring in general. That's another area where I feel like a lot of people turn to you as kind of the trusted Blu-ray author of our industry, and maybe even the guy to have opinions on other people's discs and stuff. So for those of us who don't know, what really goes into disc authoring and the post-production work that you do even, and what sets a great disc author apart, and then what pitfalls can result in the subpar discs if you're not as thorough.
Stop.
All right.
It's like 4 questions.
All right.
Okay, let's break that down.
Yeah.
First question is what goes into making a disc, right?
Okay.
So the first thing I get is the raw master files from Japan, and sometimes these came off of an old tape. Sometimes they're just how they were delivered from Japan, and they're usually in a pro video format. It's usually QuickTime ProRes or some flavor of that, or sometimes there are a few other formats. And the first step is to analyze what they are, what they look like, if they have any significant problems, what frame rate they're in, and I have to think about the best way to present that. All right. So, for example, if a show is very clean standard definition, I'm like, well, maybe I can run this through a filter to make it 24p again. That's called inverse telecine, and then I can blow it up to HD. Or maybe it's like a really blurry high def that I'm like, well, maybe I can run this filter on it and it'll look better. Or maybe I just need to leave it as is. It's perfectly fine. A delicate hand is preferred when it comes to these sort of things because it's very easy to overdo. And so at that point, I format it. So, if there's any excess black or bars and tone, I trim that away. I make it exactly how it should look when it's presented. And then I make low quality, offline, very small MP4 files, and I send that off for subtitling. Sometimes we get existing subtitle scripts that need to be gone over. Sometimes we extract those subtitles from old DVDs, if the old company is not around anymore, or whatnot. Sometimes we have to get it translated from scratch. So I send that off. Logan is my editor for that sort of thing, and thank God, because subtitle editing is very laborious.
Mm-hmm.
And then I get that back as a subtitle script with time codes and positioning data and fonts and all that good stuff. And all those subtitles have to be rendered out as graphics files, and I have a custom script that does that. So every subtitle you see is actually a PNG.
Okay.
So that while that's happening, I'm also encoding both the video and the audio separately. So the video gets encoded to a very specific flavor of H.264, and audio gets either left as a WAV file, or I encode it to DTS Master Audio, or sometimes Dolby Digital. And then I put it all in authoring, and I put it all together. Oh, that's right. I also have to get some graphics and hire a graphic designer and come up with menus. And while all this is happening, someone else is coming up with all of the packaging.
Okay.
And, there's some commingling there, like, we got to get the logo file from the designer, etc. So once all that's done, I put it in authoring and put it all together. And at this point, this is where it becomes software development, because there's literal coding involved. There's debugging. There's, oh crap, I forgot to map this button to this command, and now if you hit it, it just crashes the disk. Great. And so I burn a copy these days virtually, and I send that over to our QC guy, Mark, and he meticulously checks over everything, checks every button, watches every video track, watches every subtitle track, looks for typos, and he comes back to me with a giant Google sheet of all the things that he thinks we might have to fix, or at least look at. And we go through that list, the subtitle editor goes through that list, and we just fix up everything. We use our discretion, and once it's finally done, we make the files that go to the replication plant, and I send that off to the client.
Yay!
What programming languages?
It's its own kind of weird assembly that is specific to Blu-ray, so it's a very, very simple format that you basically do entirely with pop-up menus, so it's a big pain in the butt.
Gotcha.
So I'm curious. You've also now started doing 4K UHD ones as well. So
yep.
First you were the first to do Cobra, and then, which I'm still amazed that you actually chose that one before moving to Kestrel.
It looks so pretty.
Oh, it's
It
beautiful.
does. That HDR is insane. Yeah.
I bought that. I was like, oh, this is mine. Yeah, the Zaki in 4K. I'm like, thank you.
Yeah.
And I was very surprised. I was very surprised you chose that, and then you tackled redoing Castle Cagliostro. So I was just genuinely curious, how much different is the process for 4K than the Blu-ray process that you just mentioned?
It's almost identical. There are a couple more steps, and the actual act of encoding and prepping the video is extremely cumbersome and difficult. HDR is really hard to work with without screwing it up, and it took me a while to not screw it up. The encoding is also much more involved, and I can encode regular Blu-ray HD video in about, I'd say, almost real time. Like if a program is an hour, it'll be done with both passes in an hour and 20 minutes. If I were to encode a 4K Blu-ray, it would probably take minimum 2 days.
Yeah.
And that's cutting some corners that I realized early on people wouldn't notice and would not make a discernible difference. If I did it the quote-unquote right way, it would be minimum a week. And mind you, my workstation here is no slouch.
I can believe.
I have. How like PC nerdy are you?
Me, not that much.
Okay.
Like you have like
my machine here. My machine here is 32 cores.
Oh, yeah, I do know what that means.
Good God.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, and it still would take a week.
Yeah, that's pretty insane.
Also, there's a lot of features of Blu-ray that 4K Blu-ray does not support. Like, I cannot have any standard def bonus features. It doesn't even support interlaced video. Still galleries, like art galleries and such, complete non-starter. So, we learned a lot of things the hard way doing Cagliostro.
So it was more difficult to like take some of the features you had on the previous release onto the 4K release.
Oh yeah, we had a lot of things that we had to completely redo. That disc was a nightmare, and also QC is very difficult with 4K Blu-ray because burnable BDXLs are not readable by most set-top players.
Okay.
So that means that you either have to QC it entirely in software, which isn't 100% reliable, or you have to duplicate the disk and break it up into 2 parts. It's really, really a challenge, and then burn it onto regular Blu-ray media.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very, very cumbersome, and I will avoid a large 4K Blu-ray project at all costs at this point.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Now, so in that process, like, how do, some of the mess ups happen in the industry? Like, oops, no HDR, things like that. How, what sets a really thorough author apart from, someone who's maybe not?
It's all over the place. I'm really, really manic when it comes to video quality, and I'm, but I also know what I'm working with. So, for example, we just put out a Blu-ray of Cyber City 080.
Yep, got it.
I'm not super proud of how that disc looks, I'll be honest.
Okay.
But it was actually blown up and restored from a DVD because there are no masters. All the masters are missing or gone. And we found the old CPM masters, but it doesn't look as good as the DVD.
Right.
Those are from an earlier version of the master that looked even worse. So we did what we could, we worked with what we could, and we put out a disc that is the best it could possibly look given the circumstances. And, am I happy about it? No, but it's better than nothing. And did we get complaints? Yeah, we definitely got complaints. But I'm satisfied knowing that we did the best we could. I think, and, I'm not super familiar with a lot of the other people that do Blu-ray authoring in the industry. I know the guy that works for Right Stuff is a pretty good stickler, but a lot of them either are going so fast that they just kind of have to develop a factory-like mentality. Here's the video, encode it. Okay, there you go. Or they're not really kind of getting into it and figuring out the best way to present everything. There is a lot of know-how involved, and it's very easy to just go, okay, assembly line.
That makes sense, yeah. So you do all of the Discotek discs at this point? That's accurate?
Yeah, I've always done every Discotek Blu-ray.
Okay.
The owner of Discotek, Selby, he did their DVDs, but they don't do DVD anymore, so he doesn't do any authoring now. Same with NIS. I did all their Blu-rays. NIS did all of their DVDs in-house. DVD's just a lot easier.
Right.
Actually, I'm, as we speak, exporting video for a forthcoming 4K Blu-ray from Anime Limited.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
And hey, because it's UHD Blu-ray, you can import it.
Really? Ooh.
Oh yeah, the UHD Blu-ray has no region coding.
Okay.
I hadn't even looked into that. Wow. Cool.
Are you allowed to say which one it is, or is that I don't know.
I don't think they've announced this one yet, but you'll find out soon enough.
I heard nothing.
Nice.
Yeah.
So
no, you literally heard nothing. That's true, because I know we're being recorded.
We sure are. Yeah, so that's good that I guess you can still work with multiple clients. I was curious if you felt like, since you are so busy and there's so much work to be done with Discotek, if you felt like you've missed out on any opportunities working with anyone else in that time.
So far, I haven't had to turn down any work. I've come pretty close, but I haven't gotten quite to my limits yet. No, I pushed myself to my limits, but I've been able to accommodate everyone. And I don't just do Blu-ray. I do prep for streaming services. I do finishing. I've done some light editing and post-production. And I also... are you familiar with DCP?
I don't think so.
DCP is the format they play in movie theaters.
Oh, yeah.
And for the last year, I have been doing all of the DCP trailers for IFC films.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Yep.
Congrats.
Also, there's my friend's fantastic old sketch comedy group, Whitest Kids You Know. They just re-released a movie version of an old multi-part sketch that they did called The Civil War on Drugs. I dusted that off for them, and we fixed up the audio, and we got that on Amazon. They're fundraising for their new feature film project. So, yeah, I do a lot of stuff.
Wait, you know the Whitest Kids You Know?
I went to college with them.
Whoa, man, you really do know everyone. Wow, they're like my favorite sketch comedy group.
They're great guys. Trevor is one of my best friends. One of their head guys, and I've been to 3 of their weddings. We're pretty tight.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So another
Forrest Gump, right place, right time.
Right, seriously, what the hell, man? I would not have made that connection. Like, yes, anything anime related, sure, Justin, but Whitest Kids You Know, wow, would not have drawn that line.
Oh, you think that's weird? So there's this pretty prominent these days voice actor named Griffin Burns. Mm-hmm. He's in JoJo's, and that's what he's best known for. But he was also Akira in Devilman Crybaby.
Oh,
he was in Anohana. He was Jinta. I met him at my gym, and we didn't know that each other worked on anime.
Nice.
So now we've been friends for years now. We're pretty close, but it's just like one of those, like, oh yeah, LA.
Yeah, didn't you just move? Are you still in LA?
Oh yeah, I just moved across. Like, I'm still in an area called Glendale, which is technically a suburb, but it's surrounded by LA on 3 sides, so it's LA. I just moved from one side of Glendale to the other. I bought a condo. That's all that happened.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Difficult thing, becoming a homeowner.
Yeah, I've been looking into moving to LA and maybe buying a home for like the past several months to a year now, and it seems very intimidating.
Together? Like at the same time?
I don't really want to keep renting, but it's probably a foolish thing to try to do.
Well, definitely moving to a new city, you don't want to buy right off the bat. That's just crazy.
All right, fair enough.
Especially one as expensive as LA.
I wanted to talk to you because, we just recently seen your involvement in the production, specifically on Memories. You guys hosted, you guys hosted a screening of it, and I was one of the 700 people on that Twitch channel going, "Holy crap!" Because seriously, the quality really was very well done. I had not realized up until the post show that you had 2 different dub studios practically doing this. So it's like segments 2 and 3 were done by Sound Cadence, and you yourself handled a lot of the work on Magnetic Rose. This was like if I remember correctly, this was your first actual chance at writing an English script for any title. You actually wrote the script for the Magnetic Rose segment, correct?
I actually wrote all 3.
Oh, okay. You wrote all 3. Okay.
No, Magnetic Rose. I just had to do the scratch track, which was kind of funny. No, I wrote all 3, and I actually had written an anime adaptation before for Mike. I did Weathering Continent way back.
Oh, wow.
But I was working for Central Park Media at the time, and that was a Media Blasters release, so I had to do it under a pseudonym.
Okay.
And also, it turned out terribly. Like, the dub he made, it's a decent dub. They made the best of it, but my work on that, awful. I learned a lot on that, but also I didn't have the right equipment to do it. Like, they gave me the source footage on VHS, and I didn't have the technical ability to capture it and then to scrub through it in the way that you kind of need to be able to do a script rewrite.
Okay.
And then I did a couple script adaptations that never got used for while I was at CPM. But it was always something I wanted to do again. And since we didn't have the budget to actually have the dub studios do it, as we normally do, it was time to step up to the plate.
Mm-hmm. And so, as I understand it, there's the NYAV, they're the ones who actually did the recording of the first one. I just remember, something was different between them and then that one and then the other 2 segments. Sound Cadence did
yes, and NYAV did Magnetic Rose, and Sound Cadence did the other 2.
Okay. So how did you guys arrive at that kind of breakdown?
Well, I love Sound Cadence. They were great fun to work with on we worked together on City Hunter, the City Hunter movie last year.
Yes, I was there.
That turned out fantastic. Yeah, that turned out fantastic, and I was really excited to work with them again. Also, I know they're really good at comedy and improvising because, they're all actors. They kind of really riff off each other and they have a really good energy. But Mike and NYAV, I felt could really give Magnetic Rose a sense of realism that is rare in anime dubs. I felt that Magnetic Rose needed to sound like a live action movie. Like if you heard the audio from the next room, I didn't want you to be able to tell that it was anime.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a very high bar for dubbing, and a lot of people aren't able to do that. Anime dubs have a specific sound, and I thought that sound, especially the Sound Cadence guys. Most of those guys came up through the Funimation system,
mm-hmm.
and they're very good at that. They're very good at at anime dubs. But I felt that Mike could give it that extra push for realism, and that suited Magnetic Rose, but that did not suit the other two.
Okay.
So I thought it was just a very natural fit that Mike did that one and Sound Cadence did the other two. I thought they were both the best studios for the job.
Okay. I really will have to note one thing that even came through just on my little laptop on here. So I can't wait to actually buy the disc. The sound construction is particularly with where the music was cues were. Those are hitting. Those were nailing perfect pitches on especially on Magnetic Rose. I was like, oh my god, this.
Oh wait, are you talking about the singing?
Yeah, like the singing and the orchestra music in the background. I was like,
well, that's just. I mean, had you never seen the movie?
I'd seen it, but I'd seen the film itself.
Because we didn't do anything to that. That was just part of the music and effects tracks that we got from Japan.
It didn't feel like the ones I'd gotten before. I don't know. Like it didn't have the punch. Maybe
you just weren't used. Maybe you just weren't used to watching anime with Twitch compression.
That's interesting. Yeah, it was. I'd never seen it. I'd never actually heard it like that before. That's strange. I don't know. Maybe I'm weird. But yeah, seriously, that really did come through with it on your presentation. I was like, wow.
Well, I'm happy. I'm really proud of that dub. I think it turned out extremely well, especially considering that it was a COVID dub. I couldn't be happier with it. I can't wait for more people to see it.
Yeah.
It's coming out in June, I believe that we're going.
Yes. Yep. End of June it will be streaming. I think it's the last Tuesday in June. I have to double check on that.
Okay. I'm definitely
that's the usual Discotek release day, is the last Tuesday of the month.
Okay. Actually, the next question is the one I wanted to steal from you, Kestrel, if I could.
Sure.
Or all of them.
I promise I'm not totally selfish all the time. But there's some of these discs that you guys really you basically it's the kitchen sink editions that you guys have done Blu-rays on for Castle Cagliostro, Giant Robo, Street Fighter 2.
Oh yeah.
It's like so, and obviously Memories are going to be getting that. How do y'all
Robot Carnival?
Yeah, amazing work. And also, did you have anything to do with Arcadia of My Youth as well?
I did. I'm not. That was Brady took the lead on that one. Arcadia of My Youth. I'm not sure I would call that a kitchen sink disc. It's it was a decent disc, but it
Yeah, for the first time in all the years that I've ever been grabbing that movie, you guys did something I never had seen before. I could actually see the battle in space. Before.
Oh well, that's just the good transfer from Japan. We didn't really have any. We can't take credit for that.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we take the video they give us most of the time. Every once in a while, we're involved in the remastering in Japan,
mm-hmm.
but that's still not us. That's us hiring someone.
Okay, all right. Which one? How do you guys come together and say, okay, this is the a film or series that we're really going to give the extra treatment to? Like is it like availability, or just one person saying, I really want this, or how does that process come about?
Basically, our inner fanboy takes over, and once we see it coming up on the schedule, what usually happens, if it's either me or Brady that goes nuts, usually both. So what will happen is whoever is most insane for that show will just start working on it at the soonest possible moment, and just will go to sleep at night thinking of all the weird stuff we can cram on that disc and all the ways we could possibly go about doing it. And then we'll talk excitedly about it. And then usually I'm the realist that goes, no, Brady, that won't fit on a disc. That's insane. You can't code a disc like that. But usually there's not that many things like that. Usually we can figure out a way to do almost anything. And then we basically just shoot for every idiotic pie in the sky idea, and the ones that we can make come together in time land on the disc. And then once it finally gets to me to authoring, I'm like, oh my God, I have to fit all of this on the disc? What?
Do you ever do like an extras disc?
We just had to do that for the first time with Scride, but that wasn't our fault. That was just because that's what they gave us from Japan.
Okay.
Yeah, we try not to, because that really adds to the production, to the manufacturing costs. Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, and the thing about Discotek discs is that, it's a very niche product, and, some of our discs might only sell less than only a few hundred copies, so we really don't want to add to that. Like, every penny counts with these things.
Yeah, some of the stuff we were talking about earlier with the dubbing, I guess, kind of segues into a question we got on Twitter from Bootleg Culture. Says, back then it was said to be impossible to dub an old anime series or OVA without redoing the audio from the ground up. What was the hardest redub ever by Discotek Media? So I assume this is referencing, like, if you don't have a music and effects track or something?
We haven't redubbed that many things. And yeah, a lot of times there is no music and effects track, and we're just screwed. We wanted to dub Arion. We couldn't, because there was no music and effects track. There might be a way with certain pro-level software, like Isotope or something, to filter out the audio, but it usually doesn't, or to filter out the dialogue, but that usually doesn't sound right. It usually screws up too many things. Yeah, I don't think we've ever done what he's asking about.
Interesting. Okay, well, I guess that answers that.
We don't really dub that much. Just a handful of shows.
Another thing that Discotek has been a big pioneer in, that's been adopted by some other people throughout the industry, is SD on Blu-ray.
Yes.
What are the advantages of an SD on BD over a DVD to a consumer?
Well, first of all, it's a lot fewer discs. You can comfortably fit around 50 episodes, depending on the audio. You can probably fit around 50 episodes on a single SD Blu-ray, which that's obviously way more than you can cram on a disc. On a DVD, you could probably max out at 6 before quality really starts to suffer. So, 8 times the amount of video. That's pretty great. If you have more breathing room, you can use lossless audio. Lossless audio is pretty big, but if you have the space, like we did with Genocyber, you can do that. The subtitles are way better, because DVD subtitles can only be up to 3 colors. So there's no anti-aliasing. They all look pretty jaggy and nasty, especially scaled up on a modern TV. But Blu-ray subs are 256 colors, so you can anti-alias and smooth them out, and it looks much better. The compression can be much better. You're using a much more modern codec. MPEG-2 is 30 years old now, but H.264 still looks pretty good, especially for standard def. So you can really do a lot with standard def Blu-ray, and it's really, there are shows where you really can't upscale them or really do much with the masters. And and since people don't really buy DVDs anymore, SD Blu-ray is really giving them a new lease on life. I think it's the way to move forward with shows like that.
Well said. Yeah, that was exactly what I wanted to hear. I've been kind of curious for a while about all the advantages, and I feel like that covers it pretty well.
Yeah,
there's a lot. We wouldn't do it if it weren't so obvious. And with the lower discount, that means we can price it lower too, because it's less to manufacture. It's less to Fist of the North Star on 3 discs. It's 152 episodes.
Yeah. Thank you for that, by the way. I did grab the.
Yep.
In fact, what do I got sitting right in front of me? I've got your Acro Bunch sitting right here. I just got that yesterday.
That's a fun show.
Yeah, I need a strange pick-me-up show, and I was like, let me finally look at this. It's a quirky little show. So I got that, Voltus V, and Battle Athletes all sitting right in front of me, my hands here, as we talk. So yeah, I mean, this is definitely a nice economical way, and they still generally look good. And I've seen some companies not actually put out stuff to this quality, so I am glad that you guys have embraced this part and are moving forward with it. So yeah. Also,
I still can't believe the price difference between the old Geneon or Pioneer Battle Athletes and our release.
Yeah. Yike. I mean,
those would have cost you
forever
over $300, I think.
Yeah. And then not to say, I can't remember. I can't put my hands on it, but Hajime no Ippo, you guys are actually putting that out now as we. In fact, that's Kestrel's wheelhouse. He's the Uberman on that one. But it is really nice to see
it's
that
such
come
a good
back.
show.
Yeah, I've been trying to track down all of the Geneon singles for so many years now. So the moment that was announced, I was like, yes, immediately listed them all on eBay.
I was very lucky back in the day because I knew that Geneon was circling the drain, and I pre-ordered their brick, their flipper pack discs, and they were literally in print for a month before they went out. And I got them.
Congrats! Let's go.
Well, now it doesn't matter.
But no, still, I mean, I'm a survivor of the VHS to DVD to Blu-ray collector pains. So yeah, it's like, thank God this stuff's getting cheaper and better looking as time goes on.
Well, you gotta keep up with the new stuff, man. It looks pretty darn good. I mean, those masters held up great, so we're pretty happy with them. I have one last box set, the last collection still to produce, and we'll get that out as soon as we can.
Woo! Speaking of new projects, I know this one you really we're like about less than 24 hours removed from your announcement about Project Echo. I know you've been really chomping at the bit to talk more about this, and as fans, we're all completely crazy about this particular story. Is one of the craziest things we've seen in a while, and everybody, if we're watching, for folks out there, Justin has actually put out a page with like different still shots of the straight from LD to the what was it? What was the techno? The AstroRes technology that you were going to use to the 4K thing that you have up there. So yeah, like we get to see like the different elements of the process that you were going to wind up doing before discovering this little thing. So I know you talked a little bit on the Discotek Twitch presentation, but yeah, could you talk to everybody who's not actually had the chance to watch it, how this came about, from how you wound up going from one source to the other, and what this portends for the future release?
Legend has it that the film elements were lost, and honestly, we had been looking for it and trying to locate it for over 20 years at this point, and we were just told they're gone. They're not there. So we're just like, well, crap. So we moved ahead with the best copy of the film known to exist, which was the old Japanese Laserdisc. And the CPM Collector's Edition used the same source, but we have much better technology to clean it up now. And also, the previous Discotek DVD was another restoration off that same Laserdisc. So this time we thought we would do the definitive version. So we used a new piece of kit called the Doomsday Duplicator to rip the raw RF signal directly off of the Laserdisc to be decoded in software, bypassing all of the crappy consumer-grade video technology in a Laserdisc player. Then, after decoding that video signal, we meticulously color-corrected and cleaned up that signal. That took about 4 months. And then we were going to use this groundbreaking new upscaling technology called AstroRes to create as close as we possibly could to what we thought the film looked like. And there was a lot of manual steps involved, a lot of color correction, a lot of manual grain adding, a lot of texturizing, etc. And literally we had gone through all of the steps except AstroRes. We were just starting on AstroRes when I got an email from a certain Robert Woodhead, best known as the president of Animago.
We love you, Robert.
Telling me that, yeah, we do. He said, hey, he was going through some stuff for a secret new project, and he thinks that the Aiko Masters exist according to these records. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Everyone knows they're lost to the ages. He's like, well, here's a lead. Look for it. So I started an email chain. We involved the licensor, and the licensor ended up having to force the film lab where the vault was located to actually go and physically look to see what was there, and there it was. According to their records, it was not there, but according to this ancient old record that apparently Robert saved from a shredder or something, it was in there. So wow. we paid to have the lab do a new 4K scan. And it is sitting here on my hard drive, and every time I look at it, I shed a single tear. So you actually get to put out your absolute first big project as a first anime, as you saw as a kid, as your basically one of your biggest masterpiece projects. Now, so how's that feeling right now? That part's great. This disc is going to be a kitchen sink disc and then some. There is so much stuff that we have found and made that nobody has seen yet. I actually reunited all of the surviving Americans who did the soundtrack for a new interview feature.
Nice.
So Richie Zito, Joey Carbone, Samantha Newark, and Annie Livingston all sat down with me, and we had a nice long interview, and we're finishing up cutting all of that together right now.
Okay.
We have a number of other features in the works. And yeah, it's going to be a great disc, and hopefully we shouldn't have to delay it that much because the disc is. It's not almost done, but it was well deep into production, and we don't really have to redo anything. We just have to swap out the video.
Okay. Now I wanted to check because I wasn't completely certain on this part. Initially, you guys had announced having the sequels 2, 3, and 4. Are you still having that, or is that something that you can no longer talk about?
I can't talk about that right now.
Okay.
There are some factors that will become clear later, but we can't talk about any release plans. The disc that we announced, consider that scrapped, and we'll announce something new.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Also, there's one aspect of Aiko. The Project Aiko disc that CPM had, I kind of got the impression some of those people helped with that as well. Were you involved with that?
Yeah, that was me.
That was it? Okay. Wow.
This is actually the 4th time I've worked on Aiko.
Okay. Congrats, man.
Wait, 1, 2... Sorry. Yeah, 4th time.
Okay. Very cool, my man. Full circle.
I like my life.
It's a good place to be.
I'm a fan.
So some of these technologies that you're talking about, the Domesday Duplicator and AstroRes, I had never heard of any of this before, you guys were talking about them.
Yeah, they're really bleeding edge things, and frankly, the number of professional uses for something like Doomsday Duplicator, where you need to go back from a Laserdisc to get a good source for something, that's not going to happen very often. That's a pretty rare use case.
So how did you find these things?
Being really nerdy and very online. There are a number of fans who have been procuring the Doomsday Duplicator to do the sort of fan subs that I still enjoy, which is, there's a whole lot of 80s, OAV bubble shows that, that they're unlicensable now. Like, nobody knows who owns them. The companies all went bankrupt. There's no one to license them from. Mm-hmm. And the only good copy left is on Laserdisc. So, if you're going to get the best quality copy, Doomsday is what you got. So there's that. And so, yeah, we actually worked with a few fans that already had one to work on ACO, and hopefully at least one other project coming down the pike that nobody knows about yet. And as far as AstroRes, he actually came to us. We are the guy that developed AstroRes. We are his first use case, and his goal is to he really wants to develop it as a service. So, and he's told me very little about how it works, but I can obviously vouch for its results.
Yeah,
sure.
Initially, it looked really good.
Yeah, we've used AstroRes for the digital cuts of memories. We talked about that briefly. Mm-hmm. About 4.5 minutes of shots from Magnetic Rose looked pretty rough because they were all composited and the CG was done in it looked like about 360p. They used analog video technology. Mm-hmm. So it looked rough, and they really stood out from the rest of the film. So we used AstroRes to make them blend in properly. Then, there's a couple forthcoming projects that we're hoping to use AstroRes on. Okay. It's good stuff. We're really happy to have it.
Yeah. It sure seems like magic to me.
When we got it, we're just like, so we just started referring to it as the demon summoning technique.
Nice.
Because it didn't have a name yet at that point. So we're just calling it demon summoning.
So, you guys, and I saw, a lot of the licenses that you have now, so you said you're basically going to be packed with content for about 2 to 3 years, roughly, that you said?
We have about a 3-year backlog of things we need to release, yes.
Mm.
And that's me going on all cylinders. We just upped our production to 8 discs a month for just Discotek, and that's why I hired the new guys. Because it's just, there's so much to get through, and Selby's like, look, if we don't start releasing this, it's going to get expired. We got to get this out. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. Maybe you shouldn't have licensed so much crap. And he's like, you're right. I'll return Project ACO, and I'm like, stop.
Oh, blackmail. Oh man. I'm personally waiting for Arion. I was very thrilled that you got that. I was like, oh my god, I've only read that in Animag. I love it.
Such a pretty movie and an amazing Joe Hisaishi score. People forget about that. Yes. But it has a Joe Hisaishi score, and it's an epic soundtrack. Probably one of his best.
What else was it? Lady Oscar. There was something very specific I wanted to ask about that. Because apparently you spoke a little bit about this last night. You have to call it Lady Oscar. You cannot call it just Rose of Versailles anymore. Could you speak a little bit to that for a second?
I can't really. That we do what we're told, and the international official title for Rose of Versailles is Lady Oscar, and so that is what we must call it. I cannot explain any other release. I am not privy to any other release. We are vessels for Japan's for Japan's media, and our sole goal is to be good custodians of these rights.
Understand. Very well understood. Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to that, and also the Dear Brother release, which we kind of guessed it was you guys putting that on RetroCrest, but it was nice to see the actual.
It was not.
It wasn't you guys.
It was not. They licensed it on their own, and we're just like, hey,
that's interesting.
Yeah. The funny thing is, like, they could only offer us a really short contract on that. I think there's something going on the Japan side of things.
Mm-hmm.
So we could only take it for a couple years, which is much shorter than our normal license agreement. But we're just like, yeah, we'll take it. We probably won't be able to renew it. Maybe we will, but I don't know. So we're putting it out there, and hopefully anyone that gets it will get it early.
Okay. Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. And oh yeah, what is this thing about cute animals and cats? Y'all have been grabbing all these different little cutesy type anime of late, and it's like it was I can't remember. It was a name I'd never heard. It was a film that you announced last night, but it seemed to fall in that vein.
Oh, Nyanbo.
Yeah, Nyanbo? Is that what it was?
Nyanbo.
Okay.
It's a spin-off, yeah.
That's one. Yep.
But
so here's the thing. The owner and his wife are cat people. Brady is a cat person. I think a couple other Mike Toole is a cat person. I think several other people on the Discotek team are cat people. I don't have any pets currently, but I'm a bird guy. But whatever. People like the cats. Let them have the cats.
Yeah, I was like, you got another one? Wait, what? Okay. All right, let's check it out and grab it. But yeah, I was kind of ecstatic and kind of laughing my butt off at some of these titles that you've been grabbing lately. Is there just as the fan, real quick? Are there any ones that you're really looking forward to that you've already announced that you're really looking forward to releasing real quick? Just your
well, obviously, Memories and Echo.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also a huge Dear Brother fan, so I'm really stoked that we're coming out with that. You have to remember, as much fun as a lot of this stuff is for me, it's still work for the most part, so I can't get too worked up over anything because they're as much work as I make for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I make a lot of freaking work for myself. So, there's... What else do we even have coming up? EPO I was a huge fan of. Honestly, so I could probably get free copies of everything we work on, but I buy it because I want to support the ones I like.
Mm-hmm.
And I usually buy around 2 or 3 of our releases a month. So what does that tell you?
You believe in your shit. Don't get high on your own.
We eat our own dog food.
Cat food, I guess.
Yes. We eat our own cat food.
So I think there have been some titles where, the HD materials have some or all of the grain pretty much DNR'd out. And I believe you've added grain back on top of them to restore that original look, which I'm just curious how challenging a process that is and if it would ever be feasible for 4K HDR. So that's something we do in After Effects, and it's very slow, but it's not super hard. We've only done that for the first 2 Galaxy Express movies, because those not only were they degrained, but they were also, the process left them looking kind of smudgy, and the grain was necessary to kind of hide the smudginess. I don't think, I don't know that I can do that in HDR and have the HDR survive. I might be able to, but the plugin in After Effects that does that is so old, it's in 16-bit.
Okay.
So but it actually emulates specific film stock, so it's very useful. And I actually used it for the AstroResed sections of Magnetic Rose and Memories to make it blend in with the film footage.
I remember you talking some extra process for that.
Yep.
You were talking about that.
So
yeah, let me just lightning around some of these super quick ones if you got answers.
Okay. Sure.
Single project that you've been most proud to be involved in, and a single piece of work that you're most proud of?
Well, right now it's definitely Memories, because that is probably the highest touch in terms of like how much work we put into it of any project we've done so far. But prior to that, it would be probably Robot Carnival, which was similarly involved.
Mm-hmm.
Very much so.
And anything that is just like, I got to work on a Miyazaki movie, or just any like big feathers in your cap in that way.
Oh,
right.
Absolutely. I mean, hell, that goes back to Central Park Media. I got to work on Grave of the Fireflies. My boss at the time was like, when will be the next time we get to work on a movie that's good? I'm just like, probably never. And then I spent the rest of my career going, ha ha.
All right. Any recommendations for like TVs or other displays to fully appreciate the quality of the discs that you put out?
If you're buying a new TV, I would definitely consider the Samsung Q range. They're really nice. I just put in an order. It's not here yet for a JVC DLA NX7 projector, which was very expensive, but thanks God it's a tax write-off. But I'm really excited about that. Most of the higher-end TVs from the major manufacturers are pretty good these days. Honestly, if you do your homework, it's hard to go too wrong. Just for the love of God, turn off the motion smoothing.
Oh God, it's so bad.
I got a Samsung. It looks pretty good.
And the sharpness boost. The sharpness boost. Turn off the sharpness boost.
And in that vein, best reference quality Blu-ray, anime or otherwise. I guess one of each maybe, and same for UHD.
Of my discs?
Of anyone's. If it's yours, then that's fine, but just in general.
Let's just restrict it to my discs because I can't speak for other people's. Obviously, if you like your HDR, definitely check out Cobra. Let's see. Reference quality. There's so many discs that look really good. Honestly, we're proud of so many of our discs. There's a lot of good discs out there. It's more rare that something is screwed up than something isn't, as good as one could expect.
Now, with all the time that you're busy doing everything we've been talking about, especially working on anime and a lot of older titles, do you ever find time to watch new anime?
Not super often. I did check out Jujutsu Kaisen recently. I basically just kind of, because I follow so many nerds on Twitter, I just kind of cherry pick the ones that they are talking about. But, honestly, I loved the stuff when it was weird stuff made without adult supervision. And I feel like a lot of stuff, even if it's very good these days, it doesn't have that Wild West, what the hell is this appeal that a lot of the old stuff does. But I still enjoy it. Like I was a big My Hero Academia fan. The last season kind of went south for me. I'm sorry, League of Villains is not interesting. Stop it. And every once in a while I'll check out something recent, but honestly, I live, breathe, and sleep my work. I work from home. It's all I can do to tear myself away from my workstations to go to bed at night. Last thing I want to do is watch more anime half the time. Oh, Haikyuu. I'm a big Haikyuu fan. Nice. I hate sports, but I love sports anime.
Haikyuu and Hajime no Ippo are my favorites, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And last question, if you saw any good films in 2020, what was your favorite? Not anime, just any films.
2020 was such a wash for movies. There really wasn't much that came out.
Everything got pushed back.
I did everything good got pushed back for the most part. I did really enjoy Nomadland. I just watched that.
I'm just now learning about that.
It's like, well, all the good Oscar movies are coming out now because they delayed the Oscars.
Yeah, I didn't know about it until the Golden Globes. So yeah, I'm very curious about that.
So there's a lot I need to catch up on.
All right. If you have any more time, is there anything you want to plug? Any final thoughts?
I'm out. I'm out, guys. I gotta go.
You're out. All right. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun.
See ya.
Run, Justin, run.
Ah! All right.
Bye.
Take care, guys.
Later, bro.
Nice talking.
Groovy.
All right. I will close us out then, unless there's anything else you want to talk about, Darius.
No, I mean, I'm glad to learn about the industry as much as we just have today. From a very, very long time source, man. It's been wonderful stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah.
Do you have any recommendations of stuff to check out?
Well, let's see. Like I just grabbed some of the Discotek stuff. I know he's not necessarily proud of it, but I did just watch the his Cyber City. It wasn't bad. You know, I'm a longtime fan of Yoshiaki Kawajiri, and I'm glad to have this one on the Blu-ray format finally. And also, I haven't watched it all yet, but as a giant Leiji Matsumoto fan, I did grab Submarine Super 99, and there are a ton of like 10 links of extras on this, and it doesn't advertise this on the box. You just have to go look at it, and so you're like, oh my god, there's like this chunk full of knowledge, learning about Leiji Matsumoto's process and the entire process, because you have a lot of different people that contributed to it. So those are a couple of things. And also I'm like you. I'm grabbing Hajime no Ippo. It's beautiful to watch fall in love with all over again. And I know that's your. In fact, you wrote a big 30, 20 years?
20 years.
20
yeah.
Excuse me. Yeah, you wrote a. Yeah, check out Kestrel's article on that. Yeah, go plug your article on that real quick. Yeah,
I wrote an article on it.
You did a really good job.
Thanks.
So yeah, but yeah, those are. I will definitely also, like I said, we were talking earlier. When we get the chance to see Memories, I promise, it is a nice new experience. They did a hell of a job on this, and that's just without the extras. I am very much looking forward to Memories. I gotta have this one. So yeah, kitchen sink. Yeah,
that's definitely one of their releases that I'm most looking forward to.
Yeah.
So I guess my recommendations, we talked about a lot of their good releases. Unrelated to that, some recent upcoming releases from other companies. If you're not caught up on Attack on Titan Blu-rays, you can grab the Season 3 collection in one Blu-ray set, instead of getting the two separately. The old ones might also be out of print by now. Also, the latest release of Fruits Basket, so the second half, the second season, is coming up pretty soon, and that should be, that's a good section of that show. And also, the first One Piece series Blu-rays are finally being released this month, so check those out. Hopefully the DVDs that I watched in the last set are the last DVDs that I'll have to watch, other than maybe some old titles that I have to dig up. But yeah, in terms of new DVDs to buy, I hope that was the last one.
Upgrade.
Yeah. All right. So you can find Phantom Post Radio anywhere you find podcasts. Subscribe, rate, and review. We are on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Alexa. We have a skill on there. iHeartRadio. I think Chris posts most of these on his YouTube channel as well. You can check us out at fandompost.com. Find the episodes posted there as well. While you're there, if you can send some money to the Patreon or GoFundMe so that Chris can keep running the site, that would be awesome. And you can find us on Twitter and Facebook at Phantom Post Radio. Follow us there, share our stuff, get in contact with us if you have any topic suggestions or any questions or comments that you want brought up on the show. We would be happy to take any of that. And same thing on email, phantompostradio@gmail.com for that. I think that's everywhere you can find the show. I am on Twitter at FullMetalKyoma, and check out my Attack on Titan reviews every week on Phantom Post. How about you?
I'm learning from his reviews.
Are you reading my reviews?
Yes.
Oh.
I have been, actually. I've been reading them and I've been posting them. Yeah, I'm actually reading your stuff. It's good stuff, dude.
Thank you. But you probably shouldn't be reading the most up-to-date ones when you're that far behind, because they do kind of assume that you're relatively caught up. I try not to spoil too much, but some things are unavoidable.
It happens.
But yeah, I'm glad to hear you're reading them anyway. Anyway, where can people find you?
You'll find me mostly on Facebook. Darius Watson 999. You'll find me looking like the Kingpin at that point. Also, you'll find me on Twitter. I can't remember what I'm wearing on there, but the Anime Elitist T-shirt at this point. At Darius Watson or D Watson 999. Similarly, and other than that, you'll find me at my house until I actually get a couple of shots in my arm. That's about it, man. But thankfully, we will beat this bloody COVID. Ah!
Yeah, definitely.
I want to see humans.
Right. Yeah, I hope to see you again at a convention one day, and hope to.
Yeah, man. We gotta do the Boston 2.0 podcast together again, man. Just go, giving up prizes and talking trash.
Yeah, if you can get people to show up, then I'm all for that.
Hey, I'm on it, bro. I am on it.
Yeah, I definitely look forward to seeing people again, and having panels and all of those things in real life instead of just on the internet. I miss it a lot. So anyway, we will see you guys next time. Thanks for joining us, Darius. You're always welcome on the show, of course.
Thank you, sir. Party on, Garth.
All right, see ya.
All right, take care, guys.